Hello, everybody. This is Gynarchic Awakening here, back with another video. I've been wanting to do this one for a while. Just kidding. It's only been about a day or so since I wrote this. These are the different stages of the Gynarchic path I went through, and I thought I'd share them with you and see if maybe other people have been going through some Gynarchic stages. So the first stage I'd like to address is ideation. Ideation is the in at least for me it was the initial stage. Ideation can take place can happen in different ways. You could just be thinking about what would it be like if women ran things, and then that idea stays with you. It doesn't just enter and leave as just like any other thought. You just see it for what it's worth, um, play with it a little bit in your head, but this is usually the stage where a lot of people stop, actually. But it's a pretty interesting one, nevertheless. The next one is, and also in my case, it came from exposing myself to certain kinds of material on the internet. When I found them, it had a profound impact on me, an effect on me, and I learned things about myself that I didn't know prior to consuming that content. The next thing is self exploration. This is where you start, like, it could be just a fantasy where you imagine yourself being the character in a community or society or government in which women run things. It could be like you trying to find out, okay, let's say that this isn't just an idea, this isn't just a fetish or whatever. Like, because again, people come into it not knowing. And you're just trying to figure out, okay, who am I? How do I fit in this as whatever I am? Whether I'm a submissive man, a switch, a dominant, whatever. How can I bring about the society? So this kind of stage is mostly, I want to say it's cerebral, not cerebral. What's the word I'm looking for? This is what happens when you go off the cuff. I'm so much better at this when I just write and think about it. It's kind of like this. So you are not only entertaining the idea, but you are taking the idea and putting it within a context inside of like an imaginary context where you have inserted yourself into the role of a main character, a protagonist, or a submissive, and you're just kind of playing it out in your brain. Um, of course, at this stage, even though you are sort of exploring yourself with relation to the idea, you haven't really gone further than that. The next one is communication. Now, when you are at the point where you have thought about the idea, and then you've explored a bit, and you said, maybe I like that. Then you start thinking, well, hey, is anybody else like me having these thoughts or feelings? And so you seek out other people who have consumed this material. Uh, and when you start talking with other people, then you realize and this is what happened to me as I started communicating with others, and I found out that there were people who were dead serious about these thoughts and ideologies. I was like, what? I figured it out. And I was genuinely fascinated by it. I was like, wow, so you as a person, this other individual, you genuinely believe that this is the kind of community or society that people should pursue. And that's what leads to the fourth step, which is research. In other words, you start researching the past. You look for societies where women have run things. You try to find out more about the different individuals within the Gynarchy community, within the FLR community. You try to find out everything that you can that is factually based. In other words, who's been writing the books, um, how is that information being disseminated to the public, things like this. In other words, you're looking for a basis for this thought system that exists outside of the content that you likely encountered when you first ran into it. The next one is understanding. In other words, the understanding part is where you start to you've done the research, it starts to click, you start to get it. You start to understand the different kinds of concepts, the visions that are out there, the perspectives, it all, and then you realize who you are with respect to these things. In other words, you have completed the self-exploration stage because that stage is ongoing. While you are communicating and doing research, you're still in the process of figuring yourself out with respect to the community. But then when you have understanding, all the lights start going on upstairs. You start forming the connections, and then after understanding, we have creation. Now, what is creation? Creation is where you start to do things like write constitutions, like a Gynarchic constitution. Believe it or not, there are people who've done this. Sometimes people will write like hierarchical models involving women and stuff. In my case, it was writing a template, a star system, both with the intention to socialize boys and girls within a Gynarchic community, to provide safety for women and girls. That was part of my initial intention, but of course I think that there are definitely other ways of being more efficient about it, especially after talking with some individuals within the community. But you're sort of at the stage now where you're kind of, or it could just be fan fiction. It could be that you're writing about something and you're using an existing show as a way to sort of, like, I don't know, create an alternative universe where it's matriarchal or whatever. And you're playing around with all these different ideas. In other words, like when I was doing it, when I was developing my thought processes, like when I had reached my own understanding of it, I started, using fan fiction as a means of sort of trying to figure out how I would create the society, or how this society could possibly function or operate based on the rules of that world, so to speak. In other words, how would it develop, what would actually happen. So in other words, you're using art in order to solve the problems that you think that society would encounter, or you're just doing it because you're trying to picture together in a more complex way how to outline the details of this world. In other words, you've gone far past the stage of exploration where you're just thinking about maybe a particular situation that you find yourself in, or a general concept of what you think the content is based on, which can, like, you're actually starting to think about it politically, economically, socially. You're really putting a lot more thought into it than you did before. So that's why I call it the creation stage, because it involves a lot more active participation from the person who's becoming a Gynarchist or who's on their way there, where they're starting to use that as a way to flesh out their own thoughts and ideas as it relates to the idea, to the initial concept. Now, the final one is action. Now, action can mean a lot of different things. It could mean trying to organize a meeting of Gynarchists via a website like meetup.com. In other words, trying to figure out some way to get people together, maybe set up some kind of cultural barbecue, whatever, like just some place where people can get together, talk about it, and have fun. Maybe do a dance, enjoy themselves. So that could be one thing you could do. Another thing you could do, and this is what I have done, is create film YouTube videos attempting to educate people on topics related to Gynarchy and so on and so forth. In fact, the point of this video is to educate people and show that this stuff happened for me in stages, and if it happened for me, there's a good chance it could have happened for other people too. So I have taken the action of opening up and creating a YouTube channel with the hope that people will find these videos and use these resources to further enrich their knowledge and understanding of themselves and the community. In other words, I made this part of why I did that. And of course, I've had a lot of reasons for it, but that is something that I did. I took action because I wanted other people to know, as I said before, that you're not alone, that we're all out here, that I'm giving you little pieces of the puzzle. But when you put the pieces together, and after you've made your judgments, of course, because we all make them, and you have decided what you think of me and other people, then you start to think, well, what can I do with these videos? What can this information provide for me in my personal life? Now, another way you could be taking action is you could literally be trying to organize people to form communities of some kind, whether they're in person or otherwise. Or you could be trying to contribute to the gynocentric culture by collaborating on an art project with other gynarchists. Like, there are literally endless possibilities, but what separates, or rather what differentiates the action stage from all of the others is that you're no longer doing something solely for your own either edification or for your own understanding, or creating something simply to resolve thoughts and feelings, or to work out problems that you feel that community would have or that society would have. Now you are in the stage where you are trying to influence a change in the culture, or you are attempting to bring your community together, or you're doing something to contribute to the community as a whole in a more direct fashion, or more intentional fashion, maybe I should put it like that. I hope that explains the different stages. Have you ever gone through any of these? If so, what was it like for you? What happened with you along these stages? And how did you, where would you find yourself on this pathway? So this Gynarchic pathway, so to speak, or Gynarchic path. I certainly think that I am at the action stage. I am not in ideation anymore or self-exploration. I know who I am. I've thought about it. I am not at the communication stage. I've already talked with plenty of different gynarchists and people into FLR and femdom. I am educated on the different attitudes and beliefs that people have in this community. I have done a fair amount of research into the societies that are gynocentric. I tend to go back and write about each of those societies for articles. I do have my own understanding, like how I have my own conception of what I think a gynarchy is or what it can be. I have already passed the creation stage. I've had and made fan fiction about matriarchal societies. In fact, I've done it more than once. And now I'm in the action stage where I'm sharing my templates and my system with other people. In other words, I'm exchanging ideas and information with people. I'm producing these videos. I'm trying to brainstorm ways to bring people together. I'm thinking about different kinds of projects that gynarchists could possibly collaborate on. I'm thinking about encouraging other people to do it, because simply speaking, I don't feel that I'm the most talented writer or painter or drawer. I don't know if that's a word, but I don't know. I don't consider myself the most talented artist by any means, and I think that certain other projects that I've thought about, well, the simple, honest truth is I don't know if I'm going to get to these projects, and my family has had a history of aneurysms in the past. A brother of my father had an aneurysm when he was in his 20s or something. So I could literally go at any time, and that's kind of why I've thought about leaving these ideas down, because I'd love to get to them all. I'd love to do them, but in worst case scenario, something happens, other people have them, maybe they can be inspired by it, and that could. And I've been thinking about what kinds of artistic ideas and thoughts could affect the culture towards the positive. In other words, what kind of art projects could grow the gynocentric community, could enlarge it even further and enrich it further? This is where you're at the action stage, when you're really starting to hash these thoughts and ideas out, and all you're looking for is other people who are ready to hop on board. Because I don't care about the other stuff. All the other things are just details that can be ironed out later. Anyways, I hope you have a great day, everybody. Please take care.